It's now time to be joined by Chris Andrews. You guys just heard the whole introduction to this next guest, but when I was putting together a list of people I wanted to talk to, his name really at the top of the list. Chris Andrews, author of a book that you have to read, Then One Day, 40 Years of Bookmaking in Nevada, but he's a guy at the South Point, the sportsbook director of the South Point, joining us here on the Sharps Report. Chris, Matt Perrault, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so let's start with the book and the aftermath of the book a little bit, because it came out, I think so many people learned about the amazing stories that you have and you have told in the book, but what's it been like afterwards where people have now learned so much about the way you have been in this business?
Oh, it's been a real positive. Matter of fact, I just had some people come in today and had me sign a book for them, and they told me how much they loved it. And, it's great for the ego, obviously, to hear those kind of things. And it's just one of those things where, I started telling these stories on podcasts and things like that. And just the more people heard them, the more they kept almost insisting that I put it in book form. And I did, and it was tremendously successful. And, I'm really glad I did it. Matter of fact, I'm right in the middle of editing another book with the same publisher. So that one was called Then One Day. This one's going to be called Then One Year. It was a year in the life of a bookmaker, but it was 2020. I mean, I meant it to be like a whimsical, up and down, win, lose, everything. And 2020 was anything but that. But, we're working on the edit right now, and I'm hoping to have it out in the next couple of weeks, maybe even a month.
Very cool. If you were born in Nashville, Tennessee, and not Pittsburgh, would you have the same life, the same career you have now?
Not even close. No, I mean, it was, I was very blessed. First of all, my genealogy, and I mentioned my Uncle Jack Franzi in the book, prominently. He's really the star of the book, more than me. But I was 14 years old and flying out. He'd moved to Vegas when I was 14. It's like a second father to me. I was flying out here and I was having lunch with him and some of the leaders of the industry, who maybe a lot of people don't know, but some of the most brilliant minds in gambling. And I was smart enough to just keep my mouth shut and listen to what these guys said. And when I decided to get into the business for real, I remember telling my other cousin, I said, if I'm not successful, I have nobody to blame but myself, because I sat at the feet of masters. And I don't know what kind of degree you get from an Ivy League school, but, in this business, I got a better one than pretty much anybody could have.
What is it about Pittsburgh? What is it about the region, the market? I mean, what's in the water there that has yielded so many of you guys who have now come from Pittsburgh to Vegas?
Well, I think, Pittsburgh was very unique in a couple ways. First of all, it was very ethnic. A lot of people came in, through Ellis Island, wound up in Pittsburgh because there was jobs, but also because of the geography of the area, because, they have the three rivers, of course. Then there's a lot of other little feeder streams created these little valleys. So there's all these pockets. My family's from a Greek little pocket, but there was other, Jewish and Italian and German, Irish, just run down the line. And everybody in those closed little quarters, you weren't really part of the big picture so much as, and when you're in those little things, certain things can happen. Gambling's one of them, maybe stuff that you don't get growing up in Tennessee or Kansas or something like that. So a lot of bookmakers came out of there because it was just kind of accepted in those type of areas.
Yeah, my grandfather was arrested for bookmaking when I was in, I think I was in like 7th or 8th grades, and I never knew what running numbers was. And he ran out of his bar in Lawrence, Massachusetts. And when he got arrested, my mom said, Grandpa got arrested for running numbers. And I thought running numbers was like running. It's like, what do you mean running numbers? What does that mean? It wasn't until I got older till I kind of understood the Northeast and this underground world of bookmaking and just having, the parlay cards that were out, that were everywhere. And, a part of me feels like I kind of missed out on it because I ended up going to college at UMass, and I had the bookie on my floor who would come and knock every Tuesday morning for collection times, and we all knew what that knock meant on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock when the person was coming around to collect. What's it like to operate now in a world of legalization coming from where you came from?
Well, it's leaps and bounds ahead of what it was. Back then, it was not nearly so scientific, so sophisticated. A lot of it was kind of by feel, by the seat of your pants. But now we've gotten much more scientific. And as the players have gotten more scientific, we have needed to do that as bookmakers. We've needed to do that ourselves. And I think for the most part, we have. Fortunately, in the business that I'm in here in Nevada, it's all cash up, too. Because, when you're booking back there, there's a lot of stiffs. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We've all been involved with those. And, of course, we don't have that here, so you could overcome that. But, of course, there's a lot more expense, too. Back then, I always said, you could operate out of the trunk of your car, even writing tickets or whatever. But here, of course, we don't have that. We have, overhead, and I got 9 TVs in my office and multiple computers and all kind of other things. So your overhead's a lot higher, but it's a great business and it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I got into it. I got out of it for a little while and I wasn't happy. I couldn't wait to get back into it, and I was very fortunate to land back here at the South Point.
When you were booking in Pittsburgh, did you ever need the Steelers to win, or was it always needing the Steelers to lose?
Well, you got to remember, when I was booking back at Pittsburgh, it was when they were the best team, I still think, in the history of the NFL. So, there may have been like once a year where I needed them, but I honestly couldn't tell you when that was. I don't remember needing them very often. A lot of times, but fortunately, they were big favorites most of the time, and most of the guys betting me would lay a bad number, so I could often root for the Steelers to win and not cover.
Yeah, win by 3, and you're all good. You get the win, but not the cover. What happens in the future when, and this I think at one day and one point in time, we will be able to bet across state lines. When that happens, do you foresee, because we're already seeing some regional bias right now, but how big could we see regional bias kick in sports gambling?
Well, we definitely see it now. With here at the South Point, we have books in New Mexico and in Oregon, and we still see the regional bias. I think if it becomes possible to bet interstate, which I think is just a matter of time, really, I think that'll even out. And I always say, like, when we first started being permitted to book on UNLV in Nevada, Reno, guys asked me, and I testified in front of gaming, will they bet on the home team? I said, they'll bet on the home teams when they're covering. When they're not covering, they ain't going to bet on them. I'm just telling you right now, that's the way it's going to be. And that's the way it's been here. So, when UNLV had some of those great basketball teams, or, Nevada had some great runs in the NCAA tournament too. Nevada has had a much better football program than UNLV. You don't see anybody betting on pounding the doors down to get to bet on UNLV football. It just doesn't happen. And I think you'll see the same across the country, on certain, let's say if you open up in California, if the Lakers are doing great, they'll get a lot of money. If they're not doing so great, they won't get so much money. And that's the way it'll be pretty much everywhere. People want to back a winner, and there's a little bias towards a home team, but not with your wallet as much as your heart.
What about the Raiders in year one of them operating here, and compare and contrast them to, say, the Golden Knights game by game in year number one? It feels like people in Vegas would be willing to bet against the Raiders more so than they were betting against the Knights in year one.
Well, you got to look at the Knights as such a unique story. They were good from the get-go. We had money on them to win the Stanley Cup, which I just thought was foolish. It wasn't. We started to lose pretty good on them. But early on, we could see, their front line, their first line was very, very good right from the start. Having Fleury in goal gave them some instant credibility. They did a terrific job marketing, and, they were good from the start. The Raiders, we're coming up to the 4th year of Gruden, and the success has been, kind of iffy. And I think, I think people root for the Raiders here. I think they would love for them to be a championship team and glom onto that squad, but it hasn't happened yet. And if it does, I think you'll see a lot more passion for the Raiders. Raiders fans have always been very passionate, some of the most passionate fan base in the country. but that has not turned into a lot of money yet. And we get, some of the smaller bettors certainly, they don't mind betting the Raiders to win the Super Bowl or the division, things like that. But most of the serious bettors, at least at this point, are looking to bet against them.
We haven't seen this yet, but it's going to happen this year. And as long as we have a crowd, and I think we're going to have crowds for football this fall, both for UNLV and for the Raiders, Iowa State's coming here. Iowa State's going to be pretty much 90% Iowa State Cyclone fans in Allegiant for that football game. And then there's going to be fan bases in the NFL. They're going to travel extremely well. Chief fans will travel extremely well. Are you anticipating that you're going to see?
Oh.
You got me? Back?
You're going in and out a little bit, Matt.
How about now?
I got you now. I think I got you now.
Good.
Okay.
We're going to see the Chief fans show up with a lot of Chief fans and their money. We're going to see a lot of UNLV fans show up. Iowa State fans show up with UNLV. What do you anticipate from the number and the handles for some of these games with road teams having their fans show up? Will that impact the way you guys are booking and shading numbers at all?
I don't see us shading numbers that way until they actually do show up, because sometimes they show up and they want to go shopping and go to the restaurants and play slots. And a lot of them aren't really that interested in betting sports. A lot of them are. Let's see. I know when Wisconsin used to come here, man, they were great because they backed their team. Now, they won a lot, too, so that part wasn't great. But, boy, they were great fans. And I really loved those days when Wisconsin would come. We'll see what happens with some of the other ones. I haven't seen it yet. With the Raiders, obviously, but we'll see more probably this year. UNLV, I'm looking forward to the Iowa State game. I've been in Ames, Iowa. It's a really passionate fan base. They haven't had a winner for a long time. Now all of a sudden they're one of the best teams in the country. Arguably in the top 10. Arguably have a chance to make the college football playoff. So I'm really looking forward to that. When BYU has come here occasionally, they're tremendous fans. Now they don't drink that much, obviously, but they do bet. So that's a little bit more in my wheelhouse. But they're great fans when they come here, and I'm hoping we get a lot of that. But it's kind of sporadic, to tell you the truth. Sometimes they show up with a lot of money to bet, and other times they don't. So I don't anticipate shading numbers at this point that way until I actually see some cash.
What's the biggest challenge you guys at the South Point are facing right now in the world of big books, in the world of a lot of homogenization going on across the industry? What's the biggest challenge facing you guys right now?
Well, we do take some big bets here. Come NFL season, I have one customer comes in from out of town, usually bets us $100,000 a game. That's a nice size bet. But I see some of these other places, they have multiple guys who are, maybe betting $200,000-$300,000. Since we really have a couple places. We have here at the South Point is the mothership. We have the Rampart, very nice casino in Summerlin, and then we have 2 locations in Mesquite. But we just don't have the volume, the hotel rooms, and a national backing like that some of these other places have. But I think, as far as your regular everyday bettor, we try to take care of that guy. And I think we do that. I really believe we do that better than anybody. We have great free parking and a huge piece of property. We always have more ticket writers than anybody. And I mean that, literally. And we also have multiple kiosks throughout the place. So we really cater to that guy. And, our handle's been terrific. Our win has been good. And, we continue to just do business the way we've always done it. And, I would say so far, so good. Would
you rather have 100,000 players bet $10 or 10 players who bet $100,000?
Well, you have to remember a couple of things. Some of the places you're talking about, let's say like William Hill, for example, they're a sports book. That's their business. We're a sports book in a casino. The casino is the main business. So, yeah, I'd rather have 100,000 guys bet me $10 a game. That's way better for the casino. We're looking to create traffic, in the casino. If it's run properly, which this one most certainly is, the sports book is a tiny little piece of the bottom line. The hotel, the slots, That's what pays for everything. When you are a place like William Hill or some of these other outfits that are around, the sports book that's the whole business. That's the business. And here at the South Point, it's not. It's part of the bigger picture. And we always have to remember that. And that's why we do some of the things that we do.
In terms of marketing the sports book and presenting the options you guys have for players, it feels like you have a pretty loyal customer base that once they come in, you guys try to make it feel like, not the way, I hate to say the way it used to be, but you guys try to have customer service. That seems to be a pretty big thing that the South Point wants to put forward. Is that fair?
I think that's very fair. I mean, early on, like every bookmaker, we'd have wins and losses. And, I remember we went through kind of a tough stretch one time. And, Michael just came and he says, listen, a guy drops a pass in the end zone. There's nothing you could do about that. Here's what I want you to concentrate on. Make sure you have enough ticket writers. Make sure they're friendly to the customers. Make sure the place is clean, all that sort of thing. That's within your control. Obviously, we want you to have a good betting menu, have everything you're supposed to have. We want people to keep coming in here. But like I said, guy, makes an error at third base. There's nothing you can do about that. Guy, hits a 3-pointer at the buzzer. And, that's out of your jurisdiction, really. You got to do things that you can control and make sure you do those to the best of your ability. And I think we've done that.
How does automation impact that model? Do you guys foresee it becoming part of what you guys do, or will you shy away from it because you want that interpersonal communication, the getting to know the player?
I would try to shy away from it as much as possible. Even in-house, we do in-game betting, and I know a lot of these places have it kind of like farmed out to somebody else. We don't do that. We do it all ourselves, and I have to say, it's been really successful for us. Both for bottom line and just gives us a little something different than other people have. And I've talked to Michael about it. I think he's very happy with it too, because we don't farm it out. And it's one of the things that is under our control, and we control it the best that we can. And it's been a good bottom line for us, and I think it's helped us retain a lot of the customers that we have because they're going to find a different number at our place possibly than they find at some of the others.
Do you find by doing it yourself, you're limited with what you can do? Meaning some of the other places that are automated have live in-game wagering on every single game on the board. Do you ever hear anybody from your customers asking for a game that you guys have decided not to do in-game on?
Well, we usually do the biggest games of the day, no matter what the sport is. So have I heard it occasionally? I got to say, very, very few times, because usually if a guy comes up early in the day and will ask me, are you having such and such game on? I have two guys that pretty much take care of the in-game for me. I'll mention that, I got some interest in, this game that maybe wasn't on the menu, and they'll say, oh, yeah, we can do that one too. So I think our response for that has been I think very positive for players if they come up and ask us for that. We do take care of that, for the most part. We're not going to be 100%, obviously. Yeah. But that limits us a little bit. But I got to tell you, I look at the numbers all the time. They're really strong, and I don't see any need to change at this point.
How has applications changed the in-game betting model for the South Point, and how do you guys see that going forward?
When we were with the old system, it was definitely more difficult. But the way we got a new system, I want to say about 2 years ago, and it's been much better. I think for the players, much easier to manage on our part. There's some other applications that are probably coming in the next few years. We're a little more stringent here in Nevada. They have to pass through gaming. That doesn't apply to a lot of places in the Caribbean, and I can't speak for some of the other jurisdictions. I honestly don't know them all that well. But Nevada, you get scrutinized pretty good. But I think you'll see them in Nevada. But there's a cost process too. There's a cost to getting licensed. So I hope they come in. But right now, we're very happy with the system we have.
When you guys look at the future for Nevada in particular, it's one thing that I have been adamant on for years, the ability to sign up Mobley. Given that you are a casino property first and foremost, and the book is second, do you want mobile sign up, or do you prefer to have somebody come into your sports book to sign up in person for an application?
Well, I think we want a level playing field. And right now, the playing field here in Nevada is a guy has to come in to sign up and go from there. That does not hold true in a lot of the other jurisdictions where you can't sign up mobily. I'd rather have it where the government would say everybody has to do it the Nevada way. I don't see that happening, and I can see where there's probably a downside to that too. I'm not sure we want them in our business all that much. But I guess my short answer would be we want the level playing field. I'd rather they come into the casino, but if everybody in Nevada starts doing it mobily, then I will want to do that too.
Yeah, I hope that at some point, I mean, I thought during the pandemic that we'd have it be able to be signed up mobily, and then, well, if you're not going to do it during a pandemic, I don't know if we'll ever get there if we're going to do it now.
Nevada's been slow on a lot of things. They always have been, and we could debate whether that's good or bad, because it's probably been a little of both.
Well, they were slow for a long time on the NFL draft, and now the NFL draft is coming here next year. What are you guys anticipating from a handle perspective, and will you have to open your menu up and have even a deeper menu for the NFL draft when we have it here in Vegas coming up next year?
Yes, we will, and I'm not particularly looking forward to it, I got to tell you. And I'm not breaking it. You're not breaking anything new. I'm not breaking anything new. I'm going on record. I'm not crazy about booking the draft. I think that it's not a sporting event. It's sports related, but it's not an event. I mean, there's a certain randomness in booking any game. I mean, I don't care if a team's a 40-point favorite. We've seen those lose occasionally. But a draft is a decision that's made by a team, and oftentimes that gets leaked to the media or something similar to that. And we are at a disadvantage. And like I said, the randomness of the event can be completely taken away. And I don't like that. But, you have to stay competitive in this business too. And especially, I mean, what are we going to get? 700,000 people here for that? I mean, that might be the number. I mean, it's going to be something like that. So we're going to have to be competitive and bring them in. And they beat us in the draft. Maybe we can get them to drop $1 or $2 in the slot machine or at the craps table. So we'll see what happens.
Do you anticipate having to keep your limits low, or how do you approach that? Because you're right, inside information is available. Do you keep limits low for those non-sports but non-sports type events?
Yeah, I mean, we mostly take like a nickel or a dime, depends on what it is. That satisfies probably, 90% of the customers, and a couple guys are going to bitch here and there. But I mean, it's just the way it goes. And I'm not in business to make you rich. I'm in business to run this business profitably. So, that's what we got to do.
Well, speaking of that, there is this large conversation that happens, and there's very few people in the world that actually get limited by a sports book or blacklisted by a sports book. There are some that do. How do you guys approach that topic? Do you look to limit players? Do you look to try not to limit players? I mean, how do you approach the topic when someone's saying, this book is limiting me, or if they're winning too much? Is there such a thing if a player does win too much?
Well, I can tell you, if we've done that on our on the app, on the phone accounts. Phone accounts is really an old term, but we still kind of use it. We've done that, but because we do want them to come in. But Michael has told me we pretty much don't have a problem with guys betting at the counter. Now, there's some of the wise guys, you got to know who they are. I mean, I don't want to mention any names right now, but of course we're not going to let them bet whatever they want. And sometimes, some of the people, is there a limit on this? Well, yeah, of course there's a limit. You think if Warren Buffett walks in here and wants to bet $2 billion on a game, we're going to take it? No. There's got to be some sort of a limit. But you just have to manage your business as well as you can. And a lot of times you kind of got to get to know the customer. What exactly, I mean, is he making a bet, or is he moving money? Is it, going to be a move all over the country? Or is he just coming in to give you a bet? And all that comes into the decision-making process. And, I know there's guys occasionally think it's unfair. But for the most part, we try to be as fair as we can. Like I said, I got guys come in and they bet me 100,000 on NFL games, but I probably wouldn't take 100,000 on the East Carolina SMU game. I mean, that's probably not something that would be smart. But we kind of go from there. But it all gets judged on an individual basis.
Do you, if you mentioned the government there, would you be in favor or would you be against any type of, I don't want to call it any type of bill of rights where if you gave one player a nickel, that bet would be available to everyone that came up to the counter?
Well, right now you can't take a bet that's like only for one guy. Otherwise, Matt Perrault, he's my good friend. I'm going to give him 3.5 on this game when it's 3 everywhere. When it's 3 for every other customer, I can't do that. And that happened a lot in this in this state and in this industry. But right now, that's against the regulations. So I have to give you the same number, but I don't have to give everybody the same limit. I would definitely be against that, just because it's like you do one guy a favor and I got to do everybody a favor, and like I said, all customers are different. Different customers have different profiles. I mean, if you're a good customer at Michael's restaurant, probably the most expensive restaurant, does that mean I got to call everybody to Michael's? I mean, no, of course, obviously not. Different customers get different benefits, and but like I said, they'll all get the same number, but how much you get on that number, that might be different.
How difficult is that to explain to people in the industry who are just new to betting, who come in, who don't understand the business model that you guys are trying to run? How tricky is that post-PASPA when so many people don't know really what you guys do every day?
Well, it could be a challenge, because there is a lot of guys out there who don't understand our. But I always said, I thought when PASPA first passed, I said, a lot of guys asked me, is that going to hurt, Jersey's opening up in Pennsylvania and, Iowa and et cetera, et cetera. Is that going to hurt the business? And I said right away, I don't think so. I think it's going to grow the market. And I think as the market has grown, I think they've seen that here in Nevada, I think we treat people, customers, much more fairly. And I'm painting with a very broad brush here. But I think we treat customers basically much more fairly here in Nevada. We've been doing this a long time, and the European model has come in, and I personally am not too crazy about it. And I think when a lot of guys get treated unfairly, it's by a lot of those people with the European model, and that's why I think so far Nevada's really held its own. Our handle keeps going up because I think we continue to do things right, and I think we treat customers properly. You're always going to have that one guy or another guy that maybe feels he's being slighted, but that would be in any business. I mean, go to a restaurant, probably get the same thing there. So our business isn't unique in that way.
Do you foresee Nevada books ever following the East Coast model when it comes to bad beat refunds and giving gamblers their money back if they lose a bet?
I don't know would be the right answer. Here's what I would say, though. I think people always appreciate being treated fairly. And let's say, you got your money back when a guy hit a 3 at the buzzer and you took plus 2.5 and you got your money back. Now, the next game, a guy hit a 3 at the buzzer and I didn't get my money back. Well, why did Matt Perrault get his money back on that bet, and I didn't get it on mine? Well, because, who knows what the story is. In this business, and I think that's one of the things that's made Nevada so good. And like I said, I've had my beefs with gaming over the years, God knows. But I think gaming, their mantra is to maintain the integrity of gaming in Nevada. And I think for the most part, they have greatly done that. But I think once we get into that, you got a lot of gray areas. And like I said, I think people want to feel that they're being treated fairly. And, if you're getting a benefit that I'm not getting, I'm not going to feel that I'm being treated fairly. Now, I don't have any examples of it specifically yet, But I really don't like that model at all. And I think a lot of those guys that are doing that, it's been good marketing for them. I can't deny that. But I think on a regular basis, like if you look at our lines, our straddles are better for the player than virtually anybody. Anybody with any brick and mortar outfit, and even most of the ones on the internet, our straddles are more fair. And I think that's one of the things that, is a compliment to us. We are fair to the players, not fair this time, unfair next time, fair. No, that's not the model that we're pursuing. And I think we've done that we've done that well.
Would you rather market minus 105 lines than having to market a bad beat refund?
Absolutely. There's no question. And that's what we've done. It's minus 105 that we've done for March Madness since I've been here. We've used a dime line on the Super Bowl money line since I've been here. I mean, those are the two biggest betting events of the year. And we essentially cut our straddle in half by doing that. And, that's more fair to the players than getting – and a lot of these, quote unquote refunds aren't really refunds. You have to rebet it and all that other stuff. So you got to read the language. I mean, if they said, okay, bring in your ticket and your $100 ticket, we're going to pay you, 110. We're going to give you 210 for that ticket on the bad beat. It's usually not the way it works. It's usually a small limit, $20, and then you have to rebet it X amount of times, all that other stuff. So a lot of it is, brilliant marketing, but I'm not sure it's that fair to everybody, and that's what we strive for here.
I know that the bettor in Nevada is a little bit more educated in terms of price and price shopping. It's something that they do. But as the market grows and more people are into it, do you feel like people understand the difference between a 20-cent line and a 10-cent line and the value over multiple hundreds of bets, that the math really does matter?
Well, I think in the short term, the answer is no. But in the long term, the answer is going to be yes. And I think a great example is if we look at how the financial industry has worked. I can remember, you get into the stock market about, let's say, 20 years ago. You bought a stock. You might not know till the next day what the price was, or if you sold, you might not know till the next. Now you know instantaneously. And I think people have understood things like mutual funds that had, 5% loads and things like that. And they're like, whoa, why am I giving away 5% of my profit before I even make $1? They're getting into ETFs and things like that. I think people have gotten much better educated as far as the financial world has gone. Now, we're still in the very early phase of that advancement in sports betting. And I think right now I've seen some of the straddles that some of these European places have, let's say a baseball game. I've seen like minus 180 plus 140, and guys just bet it because, there's, essentially monopoly in their town or whatever. It's either bet it or don't bet it. And I think there will be a shakeout in the industry at some point. And I think that, when there's a void, it gets filled. And if there's a void in the fairness of pricing, somebody's going to fill it. And I don't know if it's going to be the local bookmaker or maybe the state next door that does things properly. But, that's the way the market works. I mean, eventually that void will be filled. And, if people are smart enough to adapt, then they will. But in the early phases of it, they may not realize how bad they're getting screwed, essentially.
Is that why the black market won't go entirely away and why offshores won't entirely be out of business in America? Because we're going to have states that are being run, certain states, DC comes to mind, where you've got some lines that you're looking at, and it's just, even the layman knows that the number is ridiculous. It's being put in front of them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I forget what game it was. It was a big game. It may have been one of the NBA playoff games or something like that. I mean, I remember seeing, and I don't want to say who it is. It was a big outfit. But, on the line, it was minus 135 on one side and minus 120 on the other side. Now, that's a hell of a spread. I got to tell you. And here in Nevada, it's minus 110 and minus 110. And I'd say most of the outfits that know what they're doing, it would be minus 110, minus 110. Maybe you want to be a little competitive. It's minus 108 on each side. But that's not an exaggeration. information. The matter of fact, guy took a picture of it to send it to me. Minus 135 on one side, minus 120 on the other side. Eventually, people are going to get wise to that. And, if you have any sensibilities about you, you're going to bet somewhere else when you're putting in your hard-earned money. And like I said, people just want to be treated fairly. They know, they're going against it. You got to win, say 53% to break even. That's hard enough. But I don't know what your percentage has to be to break even with a line like that. I know it's a lot more than 53%.
All right, let's talk quickly about some things that you've seen gamblers make, the mistakes that they make that from a bookmaker perspective, you're just kind of shaking your head when you see it. Are there common mistakes that you see all the time that either somebody new or someone who's uneducated make, just that they could correct pretty easily to stop whatever they're doing and maybe win one or two more bets a week?
Well, I think it's mostly psychological, chasing. Like let's say, if you found out, the wise guys are on a game, minus 6.5, and you go in the bet, and now it's like 7.5. I'm talking football. Well, that's a whole different bet. That's a whole different bet. Probably most of those guys that laid the 6.5 wouldn't mind taking the 7.5. So I think that the chasing can be, really counterproductive to most guys, and that's one where the price in basketball and football actually changes the winner. In money line type bets, the money line doesn't change the winner, but it will change your return over the course of time. And I've heard some people say that even that nickel and dime extra that you're betting is more influential over your bankroll over the course of time than a half point here and there. I haven't done the actual study. I would just be speaking anecdotally, but it may be true. So I would say guys who are chasing, listen, if somebody you respect is on a bet at this number, don't lay the worst of it. If you can get the number, fine. If not, I forget who, I think it was Lem Banker said, they play the Star Spangled Banner every day. So if you missed a bet today, you can get it tomorrow.
Very, very true. What do you make of the whole sharp money, professional money, respected money thing when it comes to the average player trying to follow that? Because, that information is not exactly trustworthy, right? No book is letting a media member look at their bottom line and know what bets they're taking. And it's by the time it gets to the media, isn't it already old news?
Well, it can be a fool's errand, and you have to see where it is. Now, I started last year putting out kind of like what I called put it out on my Twitter feed. And I think a lot of people found it very helpful to their betting. Because I wouldn't just say like there's 63% of the bets on this side, but only 46% of the money that people could add 2 and 2 and see, that means the wise guys are on the other side. You could do a little bit of that. I broke it down more by number. Wise guys laid 2.5. We went to 3. That kind of slowed them down. The public came in and laid the 3. Now we're up to 3.5. Wise guys came in and took the 3.5. So it kind of gives you more of a kind of a roadmap of how we got to this number and where we're at right now. And from there, you can make your own decision. Because guys will ask me, who are the wise guys on? And I always tell them, well, what number? And there's no, like, the line I always use, no wise guy union. Different wise guys have different opinions, and a lot of them have a lot of money. Another group is on that side, but mostly depends on, that doesn't mean you necessarily like that side. You like the side at that number. If it goes to 3.5, you probably don't still like that side. Maybe you do, because maybe the number should be 7.
It's really interesting.
Who knows? But who, but that, I think you got to go back to growing the market. I think if we grow the market, I think that's good for everybody. And again, I use the financial industry as a, kind of a, and as an example. I think that's been good for everybody as people understood better, and we've cleared out a lot of the. I think our model will do very well because once again, it's very fair to the players, and growing the market, I think, is a good thing for all of us.
I totally agree, Chris. We'll end with this. In terms of reporting big bets and reporting on information that you guys take, how do you feel about that in the media? And do you guys ever, do you tell media members, hey, this type of wager came in? Do you see any benefit to the marketing that comes from reporting those big bets that come in?
Well, I got to first, I was not crazy about it. And Jimmy Vaccaro, he does that. And at first, I wasn't so crazy about it, but it's been a great marketing tool for us, so I was wrong. I don't mind telling you that. I wasn't, I kind of fought Jimmy on that. And he says, no, it's a good thing. Okay. And Jimmy was right. It's been good. And, I could see both sides of that, but I could just tell you from experience, marketing wise, it's been very, very positive.
Wow. Chris, tell the folks where they can find you on Twitter, and when will the new book be coming out, and where can they find your first book? Where can they find to buy it?
Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Andrews Sports, and there's 2 S's there in the middle, at Andrews Sports. My book is Then One Day. You could find that on Amazon. It's probably the easiest way to get it. My new book, like I said, I'm right in the middle of a final edit right now. I'm just approving the other guy edited it. I'm just like signing off on it. So I'm probably about, a quarter of the way through that. I hope to have it out. Hope to have it out by September 1st. We wanted to have it out by football season. So that'll be called Then 1 Year. It'll be the same publisher, Huntington Press, Anthony Curtis, is the publisher, editor, and we hope to have it out by before football season. And it's here in the life of a bookmaker of 2020, which was not a typical year, but it is what it is, and we put it out. And it's kind of a journal on a daily our journey through that crazy year. So that's what it is, and it'll be out in probably in about 5 or 6 weeks.
Chris, thank you for the time. Really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, my pleasure, Matt. Thanks for having me. It was very, very good. Very good.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your time.
Okay. All right, man. It was fun.
It'll come out tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Okay. You got it, pal. See you later.
Bye.